Okay, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to get right to it. The Riperverse, YAIRA #1. This is a fantastic book. I think the Riperverse, they do better with each book. With any company, especially, let's take this company specifically. You have a comic book company, you're just starting. I think ultimately you want to make sure you give fans what they want. And I think you also want to make sure that you are improving with every book, improving with every story. And I think that's what we see happening here. People had concerns and complaints with ISOM #1. Some of those complaints were addressed in ISOM #2. I would imagine more improvements are going to be made with ISOM #3. Alpha Core released, of course, Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett. This, I think ISOM 1 and 2, great forays out of nowhere coming into the comic book industry, right? For a new company. I think what Joe Bennett and Chuck Dixon did in Alpha Core #1 put the Ripperverse at the pro level. Personally, this is my personal beliefs. You don't have to agree. I think YAIRA #1, they're doing laps now. You can tell, this is again my personal opinion. You can tell the effect of having an art director like Kanan White at the Ripperverse. I believe you see his direct impact in the way the art flows in YAIRA #1. Now, of course, he didn't draw YAIRA. Deborah Carita drew YAIRA, but it's always good to have another artist with a watchful eye to say, hey, maybe we can improve here or tweak this here. I've gotten recommendations from people who have been podcasting a lot longer than me on different things I can do to improve the quality of my podcast, and I've taken a lot of that advice. And this helps when you have another watchful eye. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what you're doing, but sometimes you'll do something and you love it, but it would be even better with a slight tweak. I think that's what Kanan White offers. So I'm not gonna go through any spoilers in this review. This is just my initial thoughts. Panel to panel, this is the most action-packed book out of the Ripperverse by far, easily. You are captivated from the moment you open a book to the moment you close it. I got off work. I was like, I'm just going to read a little bit of this book. I'm going to read maybe 10 pages or so, 10 or 15 pages. Then I'm going to put it down, go to sleep, get up, today and read some more. That did not happen. I picked this book up and there was no putting this thing back down. It was a wrap. The moment I picked up the book, it was a wrap and I knew it was over. I was like, "Oh, they got me." I was like, "The Ripperverse got me. I am stuck. I am locked in and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to sit here and read this entire book all the way through." There's several things the that this company is doing different than other companies. Initially, I was like, I wonder why they don't have regular, 20, 25 page comic books, 25, 30 pages, however many pages they are typically. I think that's the amount. Now I think I understand. The way we consume media is different. Some companies are adjusting to that. Some companies, I don't think they know how to adjust. You can tell that there was attention to detail in the delivery of Ripperverse comic books. 90 to 100 page books, to me now, that's the way to go. Like, I read this and I'm like, why would you do it any other way? You can tell such a complete story. Even if you have more to add, you can tell such a complete story in 90 to 100 pages that it only makes sense to do it this way. It makes way more sense. It's almost like you didn't know you needed this in your life until you had it. I didn't know I wanted my comic books in this way until I read ISOM number one. And I remember thinking to myself, yo, I think I like this better. Now, maybe at some point the Ripperverse transitions to making, shorter comic books. Maybe that's the case. Look, I hope he sticks with this strategy. I like it personally. I think 100 pages, 90 to 100 pages, I'm thoroughly satisfied. It's like you've just eaten a good meal and you won't be hungry for a little while. Deborah, the combination of Deborah Carita and Jen and Sylvia Saska was such a perfect match. And I think with every book you see coming out of this company, it is the right artist paired with the exact right writer. And it is like matches that are made to happen. That's what I'm seeing here. Like the stars have aligned, and this is the exact right time for a company like this to take off. Yeah, as you can see, I got my Ripperverse merch. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna get some Ripperverse merch. I'm always wearing Marvel and DC uh, comic or graphic tees, or some other graphic tee. I have no problem advertising for the Ripperverse. I really want this company to do well. I think this is good for the comic book space in general, and I've said this before, for independent companies to come in and do well. This helps us all. Everybody benefits from this. I think the big comic book and content houses benefit from this, and so do we, the fans, because as fans, I would imagine. Now, I'm not going to make any prediction that this company is going to pull from the big two, but let's say it starts making noise, which I believe it is. I believe this company is legitimately making noise. That will force other companies to pay attention and go, wait a minute, what happens if we lose fans to this? We have to adjust. We all win. This story, it goes in so many different directions, and there's so many subtle payoffs from the other Ripperverse books that I was like, yo, I was not expecting that. I like that. The way all of this is intertwined. You have all of these writers now at the Ripperverse and all of these artists, and somehow these stories are intertwined. You see, I understand why the Saska sisters are the lore masters. They have a unique ability to craft a story in such a way that you can tell there's payoffs that will happen way later down the road. I can see it. I see it now. I'm reading things and I'm like, oh, I bet this is gonna pay off down the road somewhere. Kudos to the Ripperverse. YAIRA number one is a fantastic book. I was gonna get into how much money this book has made. YAIRA number one, $1.587 million. We're gonna round up and say $1.6 million. The target was only 300,000. And for all of these books, the target was, in the low. I think the first ISOM number one, I think the expectation, what was the expectation? As a matter of fact, let's go to it. Let's see. ISOM number one. I want to say the expectation was like, yeah, 100 grand. And he made 3.7 million, but did not expect that at all. And the books are now cheaper than they once were. I believe when the Ripperverse first started, the books were almost about $40, if I'm not mistaken. And now, again, much cheaper. I think they're average 25 bucks, which is for a 100-page comic book, a graphic novel. I'll gladly pay $40 for it. I think it's worth it. I think that what I'm getting delivered, I am satisfied with. Not everybody's going to be satisfied. Not everybody's going to like the books. Not everybody's going to like the art. Not everybody's going to like the stories. And I understand that. I think as this company builds, they will add more and more characters, diverse enough, like different style characters that many people will be interested in. I just think that's bound to happen. I don't really think you can get away from that as they grow. And I hope they grow. I hope this company grows exponentially. I like what I'm seeing. Um, I I cannot sing the praises of this book enough. What was delivered in this story was so monumentally good that in my mind, I said, this has gone from what I would consider an independent amateur comic creator to pro level. This is pro level. It's pro level art. It's pro level storytelling. It's pro level delivery, and definitely pro level quality as far as the books and the covers. Look, I got 2 covers for YAIRA, and I'm telling you, these covers are fantastic. This is the one that will not be opened ever, and this is the one that I read, and they're great covers. I didn't get the foil cover this time. I got the foil cover for Alpha Core, and I didn't get the foil cover for this one. Did they make a foil cover? Yeah, they did make a foil cover as far as I know. Yo, love it. If you're on the fence, if in your mind you're like, yo, is it really worth paying? Let's see. Let me check. What was the price on Yaira's books? So it looks like the cheapest one was $25. That's what it looks like. Let's see. Cover A. Cover A, $25. Cover B, $25. Cover C, $25. Cover D, $25. $25. That's not bad for 90 to 100 pages. And like I said, much cheaper than the initial release. I think when I Some Number One came out, I believe it was $38. I have to go back into my order history and see, because I could be mistaken on that. It might have been like $35. Memory doesn't serve me well. But yo, this I felt when it released, it was worth the investment, and I think many people felt the same way. They were looking forward to see, well, what is this going to be? Like, what's going to be the delivery of this new Riperverse thing? There's some people who got it, didn't like it. Not everybody's going to like everything. I I know that there's some in the geek space that believe it's a monolith. Like, if one geek likes this, we all must like it. Look, there are going to be people that just do not like anything put out by the Riperverse. There's comic book companies that I've never read, I have no issues of, and no desire. That happens. But for me, for what I enjoy about comic books, this hit every single mark. Marvelously crafted story, marvelous art. You can see the difference. Yo, I got to give a round of applause to Kane and White. We have to give a round of applause to Kane and White. This man is doing his thing. You can see the impact he has there already. And I think it was mentioned, I think Eric July mentioned this, that you will see the impact when you read YAIRA number 1. And in my mind, I was like, if he's not, he's not drawing the book. He's offering little critiques here and there. Yeah, of course, you tweak something, but it won't make that. No, I can tell. I can tell. It's almost like you can see his fingerprints on this. Not that he changed the direction of Deborah Carita's art, but I would imagine he saw some things and was like, yo, this would be even better if we did X. Or let's clean this up right here and it will be even more appealing. That's what I got when page to page, every time I flipped the page, I was just like, yo, this is a wild roller coaster ride. You will absolutely enjoy this book.